Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Erik. I'm from Hungary, and I have a soft spot for Wrocław because I used to study here 9 years ago. Yeah, it's already 9 years ago. I spent my Erasmus semester here, so I came earlier yesterday to relive some old good moments in the city, and it changed a lot. You have a lot of new office buildings. Everything is made of glass nowadays. It seems to be to me. Even in the old town, there is like some glass buildings, so that's a good sign, I guess, or a bad sign, I'm not sure, but there is life, that's for sure. Yeah, so what I want to talk about today is more on the software side of the software side of the software software development and software testing. I was studying sociology, so maybe you can that's a reason why I'm on the not so much on the techie side of the development. I want to talk about me and my colleagues, and the ways how we come together and share our experiences with each other. The ways of we do it and the content. I will tell you some examples of what can be shared with each other, and I will also tell you some things. I'll try to tell you some things that are not working that well at my company. So I work at a company called Topdesk. It's a Dutch company. We do service management software, and the development is going on in 3 countries. That's the 3 countries that the flag's supposed to represent. Here, that's the Netherlands, one in Germany, and one in Budapest in Hungary. You could argue that you see the Spanish flag and the Estonian flag as well, but that's just a coincidence. We have no branches there. It's only the Netherlands, Germany, and Hungary. And well, I think it's a cliche nowadays that companies are growing rapidly. So when I joined 2 years ago, it was 10 Scrum teams at my company, and nowadays it's 16, around that. So in absolute numbers, maybe it's not so big. I think most of you may be working at bigger companies, but in relative terms, it's a 50% growth in 2 years. And we have the setup is that we have one tester sitting in each of these Scrum teams, and unfortunately, I think they are very well separated from each other. You know, like after we had these traditional test teams, working in a more traditional, old-fashioned way in the waterfall model, and since then all the testers were, like, kind of disappeared into these Scrum teams, working together with the developers and designers, and we were trying to find ways how can we still talk to each other and share our experiences with each other. And also, since the title of my presentation is why you should do it, I will point out why I think strongly about this, why I think it's important for you, for your team, and for your company as well, that you share your experience. Oops, hope the thing is coming back. Cool. Yeah. So this just a short intro for my main points. These are the 3 places that we meet. For example, if I'm sitting in Budapest, I have 4 other testers around me, and we meet locally. We can meet internationally, online, and then we can also meet in person. So coming together, the more the better. But it's typically once a year. So the local ones, we meet once a week, every Wednesday after lunch, and simply, or not so simply, talk about what happened to us and share what happened to us. This is aiming, kind of breaking down those walls that I was mentioning, that you want to talk to other people, so you know what's going on in the other team, and it's good for you to hear those stories, because then you can go back to your team and bring it as a kind of a news. So, for example, all the photos I'm trying to I'm showing you is mostly I took with my camera in the office. So I wanted to make it very personal and very hands-on experience. For example, when I took this photo, the girl there was showing they set up some dashboards for monitoring the production logs, hoping that they would find some bugs there through that, or some errors. And she showed some practices that their team set up these dashboards, and it was useful for the rest of us because maybe my team haven't used that particular tool even, and we could go back and bring the news, as I said. I remember another story that the other girl there in the middle was telling us that they had a bug that they couldn't reproduce, and they couldn't reproduce just by they were trying to collecting everyone there. Oh, sorry about this. It keeps going away. So they were working hard on it to trying to reproduce the bug, but they couldn't. So they went to have lunch, and after they came back, the bug was there. And then the developer said, "Okay, stop. We have it. How did you do it?" And the girl said, like, "Yeah, I did nothing. I just came back from lunch, clicked one, and there was the bug." And that was the solution. There was a timeout issue in the background that some process needed to run for 10 minutes, and there you had the condition for the bug. And that was another example for a story that you can share with your colleagues, and then from then on they know about it, and they can, like it's in their reality. They can imagine that such thing can happen. Another thing that we like to do, and it's mostly for local practice, something called mob testing. Who here heard about mob testing before? I'm really curious. 1, 2, cool, thanks. Now I'll just explain quickly. It's a collaboration tool, the way I look at it. You have a group of people working together at one thing at a time, on one screen, one computer, so everything happens at the same time and everyone is there when it happens. You have different roles and you're rotating, so everyone gets to experience every kind of activity, every part of the activity. The main idea here is, for example, in this picture, I think the girl in the back was new, so it was our way to introduce her a bit to the product, while explaining her and testing together with her in this fashion. So it's good for integrating new members, but it's also good for sharing knowledge and just hear other people's ideas about the same thing. Like if you look at 5 people look at one thing, they see 5 different things. It's pretty inevitable. I think you've all experienced this before. There's another example here. I'm not sure. Yeah, you don't need to see it. It's just an example of what we did on this local get together, we call it. There was an application developed by our internship, and we took this product elements list that was developed by James Buck, and it's different aspects, or different ways of how you can look at an application or a system even. So for example, you can take a look at something from a functional point of view, or you can take a look at its operations. You can emphasize what kind of data going in, out, being transferred, being transformed, and then you can it's like a dissection of an application. So we spent 1.5 hours with this, and the application developed by our internship was a small good enough, how to say, patient. I'm not sure if that works in English. So together with all these, my first point is this one, that software development is anecdotal. By this I mean that we run on stories. That's maybe a cliche, but I think it's important to emphasize from time to time that nothing we do in software development is run on control group research, what they do in science. There's no peer review of what we do. It's hard science, of course, because it's IT. But the stories and the anecdotes that you share, that's run through the company, and that's how you learn. That's how you go forward. There's no evidence for anything. There's no evidence for agile. It just made sense for a lot of people at the same time, and now we're all doing it. But as far as I'm aware, there's no research done if it's the best way to go. So yeah, that's the first reason why I think that you should share your stories. Let's take a look at the international ones. It gets trickier at this point, and probably you have experienced this. How many of you need to hear Skype call or video conference call with other colleagues sitting in another country? Do you have experience with this, that you need to work like this? Oh, that's a lot. Okay. Yeah, not so surprising, I guess. With the international one, we meet in a similar fashion to the weekly ones, but once a month. And we're trying to do something similar, trying to replicate something similar that we do on a weekly basis. Is that we bring up a subject and then everyone can share their experience with that. It's important to note at this point, or at any point actually, that there's no management that is asking us to do it. This is coming very bottom up. We are organizing for ourselves, all the testers sitting in the scrum teams. No one asks us what happened if we skip one or anything, so it's very voluntarily. So it's better be good, otherwise people stop coming. So here, for example, last time, like different teams use different automation frameworks. For example, my team uses the robot framework, and the reports of the robot framework is very different than other frameworks reporting. When something goes wrong, you have a log in the reporting interface. And for example, that's what we contrasted with each other and shared our experiences. What's better here? What's better for you? And then maybe your team can learn from my team. So it's a good. Oh, sorry about this again. This will not change by the end of the presentation. So this is a good informal channel for the teams to learn about each other's stuff. With the international channel, this so-called asynchronous communication enters when you don't have a live communication, you don't have an immediate response to what you have to say, but you leave a message and then maybe later we'll get back to you. We have a company-wide, it's a collaboration company-wide tool. I think it's called Bitrix or something like that. And it's like a Facebook a bit. You can sign into different groups, and then you have a feed of posts practically. You can leave your experience or announcement or whatever there, and then people can just scroll through when they have time. So this is also a good forum to share your thoughts or experience. Not too many of us does that because it's a lot of work. In general, talking about testing is a lot of work, and then writing about testing your experience is a lot of work to make it compelling, to make it for others worth reading. So you know, like you need to have some kind of tendency to you need to like writing out your experiences to make this useful. We also have a kind of a landing page for testing that people can look up things, that we collect some wisdom, some experiences, and more practical things, where you can find databases and server connections and stuff like that. So this is also a good way of I don't want to use sharing too many times, but I haven't found a better word, so that's why I need to use. It's a good way of sharing what you know. I was referring to this a bit. I was trying to put up somehow the hurdles of Skype calls, because they keep crushing on you, and even if it's with one person. So we tried pair testing as well remotely, just to get together and take a look at the same thing at the same time. It's like a roller coaster thing. At my company, we sometimes we are enthusiastic about it, and then we try it for a few months, and then it goes down, and then it comes back. So usually new people initiate it, you know, like it's a good idea, let's do it. So it's definitely one place or point where we struggle. Maybe it's a hard word, but English is not my first language, so that's the one that I want to use here. This is my second point. To stay an enthusiast, you need enthusiastic people around you, and by this I mean that this is another reason why I think it's a good idea for you to share what you learned, because then you will get it back. That's what I experienced. If I put some stuff out that I learned about, then other people the next week, the next month, they came up to me and told me what they learned, and I didn't need to do anything. I didn't even know if it's going to be if it's out there. So just by telling them what I knew about, I learned about something that they knew, regardless of me. So that was really a cool thing to experience, and you know, like if you put the energy in, you will get back some energy. I don't want to go new age or anything, but but that's just have been my experience. And the third leg of what we can do, or what you can do at your company as well, hopefully. Of course, you need a company budget for this, to travel in people, but for example, last year we met in Budapest. It was like 15 people coming together for 2 days, and sort of like a mini conference for ourselves. It was very consciously done by us, or all the sessions and talks, let's say, it was done by us. We did some workshop on security testing, or we had some kind of lightning talks to each other on different subjects. Also, very important experience here is that if you met, I'm pretty sure that you experienced this as well, that if you met someone in person, then you have more empathy towards them from then on. So they go back to their country, and it's easier to Skype call them, or it's easier to take them as a human being, practically, after you met them. Before that, they are just a distant someone with a image. So that if I was your company, I would encourage it, that's for sure. And I think fortunately companies encourage this already, so, but I'm not sure. Like, I haven't worked at all or too many companies before. That's just another illustration of our international annual meeting when we come together and sit with each other. There's another key point to this, and this is my third point, is that when you prepare to share your knowledge, you learn. When I was preparing for this presentation, I needed to practice public speaking, and I needed to gather my experience. I needed to, order my thoughts in a hopefully coherent train of thoughts, and I learned a lot during that. I needed to talk to people. I needed to fill an application which has its own ways. So in my experience, that's what I'm emphasizing here, is that when you try to articulate something, it's very different than compared to the time when it's only in your head, because it makes sense here. But when you say it out loud, sometimes it sounds stupid, sometimes it sounds like cliché, but sometimes other people will come there and say it's very smart, and thanks for telling me about it. When you write down something, when you make a presentation, that's when you can expand on your knowledge. So it's not only good for you that I'm now talking; it's also good for me as well. So that's why I encourage you or invite you. You can put it in many ways to maybe to get out of your comfort zone as well a little bit. It's not all the time comfortable to do it. Like, you're on the line because maybe you don't know everything. Probably no one knows everything. So that's fine. But if you want to learn, then this is a good way to do it. Here's the 3 points on one slide again. So it's about stories. It's about a kind of a community. I would say that my second point is about that. So if you have a group of people that you can go among, and then you share the same kind of vocabulary and learn from each other, that's really great. You have a base where you can land. I'm not sure how far I should go with the analogies. And the third one is that if you try to articulate what you want to say, you will learn a lot on the way. This is what I wanted to share with you. This is what I learned on the way. And the previous feedback, I don't speak Polish. The previous feedback was about the previous session was about feedback, right?
Yeah.
Like, how important is it to give feedback? Good. I really appreciate your feedback. If you come to me or if you talk to me on any of these channels, or if you come to me after the session, I'm here all day, of course. And let's talk. Thank you very much.